Good evening. Today, I want to share this story anonymously. It happened to my wife, my mother-in-law, and me on our way back home after a short vacation. We were driving down a quiet road. The incident was strange and terrifying. My wife and I find it hard to tell without fear of being judged. It was around 9 at night. We stopped at a small store by the roadside to buy some snacks. After leaving the store, we hadn't gone far when we saw someone in the distance, waving desperately for us to stop. My mother-in-law warned me not to stop, saying it's dangerous to pick up strangers, especially at night. I kept driving as planned, but as we got closer, we realized it was a little girl, about 10 years old, crying and pleading for us to stop. My wife urged me to stop, fearing something had happened to the child. I pulled over and rolled down the window on her side. My wife spoke to the girl. She asked if she was lost or alone. Through her tears, the girl begged us to let her into the car. She said, she's coming, please let me in." My wife asked who was coming. The girl replied, "My grandmother is coming for me. She's gonna take me with her. She is very bad." While my wife tried to calm the girl, my mother-in-law suddenly shouted, "My God, there comes the woman." We turned to see an old woman emerging from the woods, not the road. She had a disheveled appearance, pale with loose gray hair, and a face of pure evil. The girl screamed and tried to open the back door. My wife, without hesitation, unlocked the door, and the girl got in. My mother-in-law and wife yelled at me to speed up. I did, leaving the horrible woman behind, watching us without moving, her gaze threatening. The girl in the car was crying nonstop. My wife tried to ask her more questions about her parents and why she feared her grandmother so much. We decided to take the girl to the police. We couldn't keep a child who wasn't ours. It could get us into trouble. As we drove to the next town, the girl began to talk. She told us she didn't have a father and that her mother had abandoned her with her grandmother. She hadn't seen her mother for years. Her grandmother was the only family she knew, but she was very bad. The girl revealed that her grandmother practiced witchcraft with other women in their house. They killed animals for rituals and sometimes fed her those remains. The girl then told us something that made our blood run cold. She begged us not to take her to the police because she had done something very bad. My wife asked her what she had done. The girl confessed that she had put poison in her grandmother's food and taken her life. She wouldn't stop crying, fearing she would be put in jail. We couldn't believe what we were hearing. The girl insisted that her grandmother was chasing her, even though she was already dead. She said her grandmother had pacts with someone and wanted revenge for what she had done. We didn't believe her at first. We thought the poison hadn't killed her grandmother. When we arrived at the prosecutor's office, the girl was crying and begging us not to hand her over. We reassured her that nothing bad would happen, and she agreed to go inside and give her statement. We stayed in town that night, not wanting to leave the girl alone until we knew her fate. The next morning, we received terrifying news. The authorities had gone to the address the girl provided and found the body of an elderly woman on the floor. She had been dead for almost 2 days. We couldn't believe it. We tried to find an explanation, thinking maybe the woman chasing her was someone else. But the photos they showed us confirmed it was the same woman we had seen. We didn't know how to explain seeing her after she died. They took it as if it had been a different woman, but we knew better. We were left with the bitter taste of witnessing something so creepy and unexplained. It made us think about how negative energies can last even after death. Our consolation is that the little girl is now safe, but what she witnessed will surely leave a mark on her forever. If you're enjoying the video, please subscribe the channel for future videos, and like and share with your friends. My name is Alma, and I would very much like to share this story. It happened to me and my husband, and although I would not have wanted it to be, it was real. It did not happen 8 years ago when my first son was 9 months old. It all started when my husband and I, along with my little one, were traveling on American roads. We went to Salt Lake City to see my husband's family, as they had yet to meet our baby. We were very happy and excited. Who would have thought that the trip would become so scary? It got dark, and my husband had to put gas on because he had very little left. So we stopped at the first gas station we saw. While my husband put gas in the car, I took my baby and went to the bathroom to take advantage and change his diaper. The gas station was alone. There was only one car parked outside the store. I went straight to the bathroom without noticing who was there. When I entered the bathroom and was changing my baby, an elderly lady came in, but very well dressed, who smiled at me and stared at my baby. I smiled back. I was used to people turning to look at him and smiling at him, even petting him. It was something normal for me. But there was something about this lady that I didn't like. In my maternal instinct or whatever, I wanted to get out of there. I was waiting for this woman to stop looking at my baby and go into the bathroom, but she never did. The whole time, she stood at the side of the door, looking at him and smiling at him in a very strange way. I was already feeling very uncomfortable, so I hurried up and finished changing him and walked to get out of the bathroom. But then that woman stood in front of me, still smiling at me. I noticed her smile was so fake. I said to her, "Excuse me," and she replied, "How old is your baby?" I replied that he is 9 months old, and then I asked her again to give me permission to come in because my husband was waiting for me. The smile on her face disappeared. I can't find the words to say anything. I want to describe to you the great fear that I felt, not for myself but for my son. I knew that that woman did not have good intentions, and you could really feel her negative vibe from the moment she entered the bathroom. After she stopped smiling, she stepped aside, and I almost ran to the car that my husband had already parked in front of the store. I got in and told him that we should go. He asked me if I was not going to put our son in the back in the baby carrier. Well, it was dangerous to carry him in my arms, but I insisted that we leave because the woman was coming out of the bathroom, watching us from inside. When we were leaving, I saw that she got into that car that was parked and began to drive behind us. You do not know how scared I felt. I told my husband everything that had happened in the bathroom, that he should please speed up because that woman had been following us. But my husband told me that he was not going to speed up with the baby in my arms, totally exposed. It was very dangerous, and that I should calm down because she was only an elderly woman. She cannot hurt us. He could handle her. Those were her words, but I had a very bad feeling. I felt so uncomfortable that that lady was right behind us because it terrified me. The evil well in her eyes, and I could also feel it as if it were a bad joke. Suddenly, the car began to fail to the point that it turned off, and my husband very barely could pull over. It was something very strange because the car was almost new and was in perfect condition. My husband had just checked it before leaving on the trip, as he always did, and evidently it was not lack of gasoline. I let my husband know, and he somewhat upset answered me, "Soul, do not invent. Stop blaming that woman." But in that, we saw through the mirrors how that lady's car was approaching, parking right behind us. I began to cry. I had my baby in my arms, and he also began to cry very badly with you, and I could also feel the fear. I told my husband to call the police quickly, and this time he did listen to me and called emergency services. But they told him it would take at least 40 minutes because the closest unit was somewhat far from where we were. My husband tried to keep me calm, but it was impossible with that woman behind us. We locked the doors, but suddenly we saw how that woman got out of her car. But she no longer looked elegant like in the bathroom. Now she looked haggard and with disheveled hair, and she yelled things at us that we did not understand. She approached our car but was behind it, yelling at us with her evil face full of fury. I tried not to look at her and calm my baby, who would not stop crying. My husband lowered his window and yelled at her to get out of there, that the police were already on the way. But she continued yelling things that were not understood. And suddenly, we saw how she began to approach my window. My husband wanted to get out to stop her, but I did not let him. I knew it was not a good idea. She slowly stood next to my window, looking at my baby, and she asked me, extending her hands with long, unkempt nails, smiling just like in the bathroom at the gas station. I only covered my baby so she wouldn't see him while he was crying, and my husband told her a lot of things to get her to go away. But she didn't seem to care about anything. It seemed like an eternity how long it took for the patrol car to arrive. But finally, in the distance, we could see the sirens, and this lady, upon seeing her, ran to her car. We stopped paying attention to her and only saw the patrol car approaching little by little until it came in front and parked in front of our car. But when she turned back, neither the car nor the woman were there. There was no trace of her car. It was only seconds. We were distracted by the patrol car. Couldn't have been in seconds without us even hearing the engine of her car. It was so impressive how she disappeared out of nowhere. We didn't know how to explain it to the officers because they said that when they arrived, they didn't see anyone behind us, nor was any car leaving. I even got upset because they wanted to call us crazy. They even asked my husband several times if he was drunk and complained to me for carrying my baby in my arms. But they never believed us the reason why everything happened. When asking my husband what was happening with the car, my husband told them that it would not start, that it had suddenly turned off, but when he tried to show them that the car would not start, it started as if nothing had happened. Now the officers doubted us even more. Even so, I asked them if they could follow us until we reached the next city to stay in a hotel because I felt very insecure for my baby, and reluctantly they agreed. We did not see that old woman again, and we still do not know what she was. At this point, we are sure that it was something totally paranormal, or it was an evil ghost or a very bad witch. And he did not stop thinking that for some reason he wanted my baby. This was a story that, thank God, did not happen. Major issues, and my son is now 8 years old. Years take good care of your children because the world is full of evil things. Hi, I want to tell you the story that happened to us on a family trip we took in 2018. We always travel by plane, but on this occasion we decided to go by van because it would be easier to move in the city of our destination. It was a 14-hour trip. My parents, my 2 brothers, and of course me, everything was normal. My brother had the GPS on the cell phone because it was the first time we traveled by van. So we had not taken the road. My father was driving, and my brother was co-pilot. Around 2 in the morning, everyone was already asleep except me and my father who was driving. I heard that he called my brother because the GPS had stopped working. It seemed that the signal had gone or something like that. My brother woke up and started moving it around on the phone, but he couldn't get the signal back. So my dad told him to look for a place to park, to change places and drive. I don't know how far we went when suddenly I saw that we were entering a small town. That's where the murky part of this story was about to begin. While my father was on the streets of that town, we noticed how almost all the people were outside their houses. Everyone, absolutely everyone, was standing still, watching our truck pass by. They were watching us very carefully. There was no person who wasn't watching us, which seemed too strange to us. My brother made fun of it and told me to record them. Well, the situation must be too scary, but I told him no because the windows weren't tinted perfectly. They could see that I was recording them, and there were too many to get into trouble with them. Also, something I have to mention is that they all wore very old clothes. I don't mean dirty or torn, but their clothing was very old. Things that are no longer used today, like long dresses with ruffles on women and men with clothes too very old-fashioned. Many lights in that town were off. Only a few worked. But there were houses that were lit inside, and we could also see how people were looking at us through the windows from inside their houses. The thing was too strange, not only because of the fact that everyone was awake at 3 in the morning, but because of the way they looked at us with that unfriendly face and the way everyone dressed and acted. All that combination of things made the situation too chilling, so much that my dad woke up my mom and my other brother so they could see. She was very scared. Well, in something we all agreed that it was not normal. She asked my father to try to speed up to get out of there soon and take the road again. The truth is that we did not know where we were because none of us had a signal on the phone. Finally, we went out on the road, and my father and I changed places with my brother. After that, I fell asleep, and the trip went by normally. The days passed, and the vacation came to an end. It was time to return home. The truth is that with all the fun and all the activities, none of us remembered that strange event. But when we were going back, it was still daylight, around 6 in the afternoon, and we passed by that place again. But there was one detail. That place was completely abandoned. It was impressive to see the houses in deplorable conditions, already almost falling down, some with broken windows, the streets completely empty. It was an abandoned town, a ghost town. It was the same place where we had passed that night. The houses were the same as the road we traveled. Everything was the same, but now without people and in terrible conditions. We were open-mouthed seeing everything, and our skin crawled, remembering all those people, if you can call them that, who looked at us in a very ugly way when we passed by there at night, as if the town was inhabited, with the houses in good condition and the lights inside on. Really, that was something impressive and hard to believe. My brother wanted my dad to stop the car, but I told him no, we had to leave that place. We tried to find the place on the map, but nothing appears. It looks like it's a road. So, I can't tell you what the name of that ghost town is, but I hope you never have to pass by there at night because those things inhabit the place at night, and it seems that they don't like visits from strangers. So far, my anecdote. Take care wherever you go. See you soon. Hello, my name is Pedro Gonzalez, and on this occasion, I want to tell you about this very, very strange and bizarre thing that happened to me and my partner while we were in my car, driving down the highway from New Mexico to California in the United States. This has been 2 years since it happened, and we were going on vacation to my girlfriend's parents' house for the Christmas holidays. We were caught at night on the road, but we loved that because we really enjoyed traveling at night, and the roads are very safe. We thought we were listening to music, both in silence, just enjoying the trip when suddenly my boyfriend yelled at me to stop. I hit the brakes as soon as I could. We never went forward, but that wasn't what scared us the most. When you turn around, and something was crawling in the middle of the road. The lights of my car weren't enough, even when using it properly, but it looked like an animal, some kind of reptile crossing the road from side to side. Although my girlfriend wasn't convinced, she told me in a low and nervous voice, "Pedro, accelerate a little to see what that is." I moved forward a little less than a meter, and the lights of my car completely illuminated that thing. We were stunned when we saw that it was a person, at least that form had its body and head, but arms and feet as short as a lizard's. That was when it turned to see us with those bright eyes and crawled towards the mountain in a very fast way, getting lost in the darkness. Because of the crash, we were in my boyfriend's car. We didn't even have time to take out the cell phone to record or even take a photo because even after seeing that thing crawling on the ground as if it were a lizard, we stayed silent for a while, trying to digest the situation. Suddenly, I saw in the rearview mirror that a car was approaching, and that's when I reacted, and I had to move forward. My girlfriend asked me if it had been real, if I had seen it too, and I answered her, I saw it too. You didn't imagine anything, but what that was is something we will never know. We have the theory that maybe it is the result of some experiment of that government that got out of hand and that maybe it escaped, or maybe they are beings that live among us. We do not know exactly what it was, but what I am telling you is real, and I am sharing this story because there may be more people who have had encounters with this type of beings, and I would like to know about them.